Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Life Mastery TV with Alicia Marie. I am your host, Alicia Marie Belshak, certified life mastery consultant, and your guide to help you tame the chaos and find your life fulfillment, something of a brighter dream and a bigger scheme. I am celebrating Clutter Awareness Week with you, and it is technically our broadcast for day 3 of our content. And for those of you who have been coming along with me live on this journey this week, you know that technically yesterday was day 3. And I had a day. Life happened. How about you? And it was a crazy day. Things kind of blew up in my space, and it was very interesting because we're talking about the mental part of clutter awareness. And so I felt more prepared to go through my day and deal with that mental clutter than it was to come with you and talk live. But if you're following along any other time, this can be your day 3. It could be your day 1. It doesn't really matter, because starting somewhere is what gets things done. So for those of you who want to join in, I was inspired by Clutter Awareness Week, something that has been on my calendar year after year, and I've always wanted to do something more public with it. And so we've been doing a big whole house transformation since last October, and really even farther back to 2018 and into 2019, and just lots of starts and stops. And so this year I felt way more prepared and more inspired to bring this celebration of Clutter Awareness Week by actually doing clutter, decluttering, clearing out with you as a 7-day challenge, because why not? It's always nice to have a clutter buddy, as I call it, someone who brings some accountability and some motivation, maybe makes it more fun, because I don't really like dealing with clutter. And maybe you don't either. It's probably why you have it. But this is a season of transformation. We're celebrating spring, and spring cleaning is a thing. I know people like to do that. And I put together a revamped version of this ebook I had written a couple years ago before the pandemic about turning the tide and leaping into action so that you can get things done. And I think even more important after 2020, right? Turn the tide so that things are in your favor. So the link for the e-guide that goes along with this kind of journey is right there at bit.ly /turn the tide 2020, and do use the capital T's in there. And it's 20 activities to turn the tide anytime you want, to embrace a season of transformation. And some of those things dovetail really well with clutter awareness. So that's what we're doing. So if you were with us on the first day, you know there are 5 categories I'm dealing with. Physical, we're dealing with the mental clutter, which we're going to talk more about today. And we also have emotional clutter we might have to deal with. And sometimes I think emotional and mental go together, but it can also dovetail right into spiritual. And then energetic would be the 5th category. And we'll wrap up with some celebrations and wins at the last day. So have you been noticing what you've been noticing? Have you been noticing where things are cluttered in your life? Have you been noticing where things seem tight or constrained, or you just don't love it? Have you been noticing your space? Have you been noticing from the inside out, like your internal space? What have you been doing? Have you been setting some powerful intentions? Have you been taking action in any way to deal with the clutter and what I like to call it, move that mess, which is one of the 20 days. Let me see if I can pull that up on the screen. We talked about planning your declutter time when we talked about physical stuff the other day. So you spend half of your time working on the space and moving stuff, throwing things away, whatever you're doing, and half your time tidying up, cleaning up, putting things away. You know, if you found the counter, scrubbing it, if you found the windowsill, washing the window, those sorts of things. So if you have 30 minutes in your intention every day for this week, then great. You spend 15 minutes decluttering the space and 15 minutes tidying up. If you get really good at cleaning up, then you can give yourself more time, maybe 60-40 mix. But this was a tip I got from the Hay House Challenge, the Clearing Clutter Challenge in January. And I really liked it. I had never played around with that idea. And I also suggested, this is something I do, take a picture of your space so you can kind of get a clear-eyed view of what is going on, because your eyeballs see things differently than your camera. And it also helps document where you started from, because sometimes it feels really daunting, doesn't it, to go through a pile of junk you've been putting off. I know, that's why we've been putting it off. That's why I put it off. It's daunting. I don't want to do it. So if I take a picture, then I can document before and after, take a picture at the end. And it's a great way to celebrate your wins. If you're looking for a place to celebrate wins, I highly recommend the Facebook group 40 Bags in 40 Days Official. It's a group I've been a part of for a few years now. It started as a Lenten journey for someone, but the group is just a phenomenally supportive, safe environment to share pictures of all that stuff you're not so proud of, and the things that people share there, and the attics and the garages and the dining rooms and the piles of things that we wouldn't want anyone else to see, and get support and encouragement. So nothing to do with me, just a place that I love. So you can go ahead and do that. So today we're talking about the mental, so that we can really get the clutter out of our space. So I just want to share my screen here for 1 second and get things opened up for you. There we go. It's a little slow, because I just think there's some ideas here that we can work on as we're working on uncluttering our space, or clutter clearing, as I like to call it. And sometimes it's a lot easier, and sometimes it's a lot harder. And I think sometimes the mental stuff gets in our way. So I actually don't see what I want to share, so it must have got closed. We'll just move on. But it was just some ideas that I will share the ideas together here. Clutter is anything that gets in our way, and it stops us from being able to function effectively in the space, or in time, and in our internal states. So what is going on in your mind that is keeping you from being as clear-headed and as strategic, or as just exciting, right? We've got some people joining, so I want to say hi. Quick little shout out to my friend Linda, who's caught me live real quick here, and I'm really glad you joined us, Linda. And if you are here live, go ahead and put a comment in. I can pull it up on the screen. And doing clutter clearing together with a clutter buddy or an accountability partner is always more fun. So thanks for being here. And I'm sorry I didn't notice that sooner. So back to this idea of mental clutter. What is in your way? So we have this thing called stress. Maybe you've experienced that lately. What is creating a tizzy? What is creating the whirlwind of stress in your life today, or in this week, or in general? Because this might be a sign that you actually have some mental clutter that needs to be cleared out. Like, it's spring. Let's clear out some of those cobwebs. I personally went through a period of time in 2016, and I've had a long recovery period since then, where I had so much mental clutter accumulate, because I think it's a cumulative effect. It's kind of one thing and then stress and then stress. It's like running that RAM in your computer, and you've got all these tabs open all the time in your brain. And what happens with your computer? Mine slows down. Mine gets slower and slower and slower until eventually it freezes, and then the mouse doesn't work, or the screen doesn't work, or the internet doesn't work. Well, I kind of experienced that in my brain. I had taken on such a mental load and I was having all these tabs open, all this stuff going on in the back burner, and all the stress that went along with it, that my brain stopped working. And I spent 6 weeks, what I would now call burnout, which, by the way, is not a diagnosable thing in the DSM if you go to a psychologist or anything like that. So they can diagnose you with the chronic stress, which isn't even a diagnosis, but anxiety, depression, things like that, but brain fog a little bit. That's not even a diagnosis, but that's what I experienced. 6 weeks of absolute pea soup. And if you know how thick pea soup is, at least the way my mom made it and the way I make it, it's really thick. It's like peas porridge, right? So my brain was so slow and the world was working so much faster than me. I had to ask people to slow down and repeat themselves. I heard words, but I wasn't really quick enough to be able to catch up and have a proper response or something. And this was a foreign feeling for me. Normally, I think faster than most people, and I kind of am connecting ideas and things like that. But the stress, the chronic toxic stress of having so much mental cognitive burden made my brain eventually stop working. And it took me almost 4 years to feel back to normal. And there was a bunch of other things because, yes, there was stress, there was anxiety, there's depression, and I'm still dealing with some of that. But it was right before the pandemic, around end of January, right after Christmas or so of 2020, that I finally looked at my husband and said, you know what, I can get through most of my days now without the relapse of brain fog. I can get through most of a week now and make decisions. And that was a big deal for me. So it's really important to look at this mental clutter aspect, because I didn't have that level of awareness then. I just did more, tried to think up more, try to think my way out of things, and come up with plans and strategies all the time, and the action that goes along with them. So what is it that's holding you back? What's causing you stress? And my suggestion to you, out of my own personal experience, is, one, get it out of your head. I used to have to-do lists all the time. But that's the first step. Get it out of your head. If there's something worrying you, if there's something causing you stress, if there's some mental clutter thought that's repeating itself, or you just happen to notice it, which is why we practice that noticing what you're noticing, just get it out of your head. Maybe it's a to-do list. Maybe it's I've got all these ideas for things I want to write or creative projects, but I don't have time to get to them, but they're running in the background, right? So get them out of your head, sketch them out, put them down in some place where you can feel comfortable you won't forget them. Maybe it's a bill that's been bugging you and you need to pay it, or some email that you need to follow up on, or maybe it's just the mental load of, oh my gosh, I didn't get through a bunch of emails that are important to me. Put a plan in place to take care of those things and get the mental load off of your brain, out of you and into paper, so that now you can make a plan. Now you can put it in your calendar. Now you can say what's important, what's not important. But having it out of you and into a piece of paper changes the dynamic. You might still think of that, but now you can go back and say, you know what? I'm focused here. And I wrote that down. I can get back to that later. So it just starts to free up some of that mental space, so you're not having so many tabs open in your brain. And then I would really encourage you to think about this idea of the power of decision, because now you have a choice as you become aware of this mental clutter that's taking up. It's literally robbing you of your life force and your energy and your ability to be productive. So now you have a decision. What do I want to do about those things that are causing me stress? What do I want to do about it? Maybe it is a repetitive thought that I'm not good enough, or I'm failing, or how do I balance everything? Like, maybe there's some help you want to ask for. Maybe there's just something you need to journal about, which, by the way, is another way of writing it down and getting it out of your head. So decide to do something with this stuff that's been clunking around in your head. Decide, I'm going to either take action on it, or I'm going to delegate it, or I'm going to give it away and forget that I even need it. I'm going to let go of it. There's a lot of things you can do, and there's a lot of really smart people out there talking about, what to do with productivity and things once you get them out of your head. Today, I just want to have as our action item to become aware of the things cluttering up the space inside of our head. The most valuable real estate you have is the 6 inches of gray matter or pink matter between your head, your ears, and your, like we don't need to be triggering our amygdala and having the fight or flight and the stress responses all the time just because we've got ideas, worries, thoughts rattling around in our head, So I would love to hear in the comments what kinds of things cause you stress, what kinds of things are in your head cluttering up your space that you find kind of keeping you in a stuck mode. What's your decision you're going to do about it? Are you going to write it out? Are you going to tell a friend? I mean, how are you going to let go of some of that? And then the third thing, which we didn't really talk about yet, but we can now, is what is the replacement thought you will give yourself so that you can keep tackling this mental clutter and the physical clutter and all the other kinds of clutter we're going to talk about. So here's a thought that I like to use. It's not new. People have shared it in many, many ways. But just taking a breath and realizing and telling myself whatever's going on right now, like, I'm coming to you with day 3 on what could be day 4, or maybe, I couldn't beat myself up about that and cause myself some mental clutter because I wasn't able to come yesterday the way I had intended. But here we are. We're doing it now. So every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. I can take my lessons. I can learn from them, which in my e-guide is there's like 3 different actions out of this. One is exactly that, to take the lessons of what I have learned and get them out onto paper so that I can take the good forward and release the rest, get rid of that mental clutter. Another one is the idea that if there's something bothering me, I just get it out of my head. And in particular, this happens around money. Sometimes you might have a thought like, oh, that bill, or, oh, that person owes me money, or I don't know what it is for you. But that idea of moving that money, and we can talk a little more about that when we get to day 4 or 5 about energy, because money is energy too. But it's also mental clutter when we're worried about it all the time. So maybe you think you're not good at money, right? That's a cluttery mental mindset. So every day in every way, I'm getting better with my money. Today I did what I did, and tomorrow I'll try something new and do better, or I'll pick myself up and try again. And that's the lesson, one of the lessons, I think, of practicing something for a period of time, like an experiment for 7 days. Can I challenge myself to make a change every day, these next 7 days, to clear some clutter, move some energy, make some room? And why not? Why not see what happens? 15 minutes a day in your space, or 30 minutes, whatever you've decided. And now we're adding on paying attention to our mental clutter and getting it out of our head and into paper form, where we can actually start to make plans or decide it's just cross off the list, not necessary. It's just been, no, I'm never going to get to that project. It's a great idea. Hand it off, cross it off, and move on, so that we can be more free. So every day, better and better is one replacement thought. What's a replacement thought for you? What's an affirmation that will work for you? Put it in the comments. I would love to see what you guys come up with, and we can go from there. And here's another replacement thought that my mentor, the person whom I'm certified with as a life mastery consultant, Mary Morrissey, she's a fabulous coach and has been doing this for 40 or 50 years. She's worked with the Dalai Lama. She's worked with Rosa Parks and the Martin Luther King kids. I mean, there's been a lot of things she's done really amazing in her life. And she always says that she has a black belt in success and a black belt in failure. And so when she says something like this to me, I really take it to heart, that the content of our lives is the curriculum for our evolution. And that is a great way to clear out some of the mental clutter, if you ask me. Because sometimes we can look at all our stuff. We can look at all the to-do lists that are undone. We can look at all the things we want to do, the dreams, the hopes, the aspirations, the longings, the discontents. We can look at the facts of the life in our circumstances, like the pandemic, like maybe not having a job, like maybe wondering how the bills are going to be paid, or how the kids are going to do with school, or how am I going to manage everything. And all this stuff builds up. But it is the content that we can grow through and evolve and become a better version. You can become a better version of yourself. And I'm not saying it won't be work, just like clutter awareness is work and working on our clutter. But this is one way to grab a hold of it. Like, okay, I don't like the clutter in my house. I don't like the clutter in my mind. Maybe I don't like the clutter in my emotional, spiritual, and energetic that we'll get to in the next few days. But here it is. And I have an opportunity to do something about it, to learn from it, replace it with something new. So better and better every day. And yes, this is my content for learning. And so thank you for being my content as I share with you some of the stories that I'm dealing with. I'd love to see your pictures, your comments, your replacement thoughts, the things you're struggling with. And, we're on this journey together. I'm getting back on track with my mental clarity. And I promise you that as we do this work, it does get better. But I'm going to add one last thing here. Stand guard at the portal of your own mind. I think Emerson said that. But it's just a really great thought. Your mind matters. Your life, your energy, your beautiful essence of who you are matters. So take the time with spring and the season of transformation to clear this clutter in our physical space and inside of us too. And just notice, stand guard at that portal so that you can be the best person you know how to be. So that's our day with Life Mastery TV, Clutter Awareness Week, day 3. Thank you for being here. And if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to see them. I would love, I want to say shout out to Laura who has joined us. And yes, thank you. I love Mary's quote, and I agree that it's a great reminder of what it is we are working on. So thanks for being here. Share this challenge. It's a free challenge, no sign up necessary. Invite a friend. Check out the eBook guide that kind of goes along with 20 action items you can do to clear out the season of transformation and embrace what's coming next, whatever that is. And I'll see you next time. And remember this, you are brilliant. You are capable of so much more than you even know. And so I encourage you to become the master of your own life and design a destiny that you would really love. And remember to leave a legacy by taking bold action that only you know how to take. Until next time, we'll talk later. See ya.